You can see them thinking their way through the problem.
Them being a pair of lambs, just in case you hadn't managed it, we're trying to shine light on them so you can see them a bit better. Because
I'll take the computer closer. Tell me when I've got a decent picture of them.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. That's nice. Yeah, no, they're not wearing bows in their ears. Those are horrible bloody tags.
Legal requirements, unfortunately. This fellow is Ross, and that's his brother Gregor.
So Ross and Gregor.
Yes.
2 small Shetland lambs.
Yes. They're about, I suppose, about 15 or 16 days now.
Yeah. Orphans?
Yes. Yes, their mum died when they were 2 days old.
Oh, poor darlings. Yeah.
Which actually is not as bad as it might have been, because at least they got some of the colostrum.
Yeah.
So it gets their immune system started off.
Yeah.
So, and then they were bottle fed after that.
And they're still being bottle fed now.
Where are we? 3 days ago, Saturday.
Yeah.
I picked them up. Yep, they're fed 4 times a day at the moment. And they get about 400 millilitres of milk each time. And if they leave any, the dogs are delighted to clean it up for them.
And the dogs so far are not trying to clean up the lambs.
Well, they would if the lambs would stand still and let them. We have had a few issues of do not lick the lambs' noses quite that hard. They're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Lambs are very precocious. Some species are precocious and some aren't when they're born. And a precocious species means they're up and running around within minutes of being born. Whereas things like puppies and kittens, they're blind, deaf, and completely helpless for the first 2 or 3 weeks before they can open their eyes and see. But lambs are up and running around and organising themselves within minutes, like calves and foals.
Yeah.
And if they don't like what the dogs are doing, then they just bugger off. But they're great. They sleep in a pen in the barn rather than in the house, but they come in through the day. They'll go out again when I go off to work this afternoon, just in case.
Absolutely. We don't want any accidents while you're at work.
We don't want any accidents, no, until they're bigger than the dogs, which won't be very long.
I was just asking about that, wasn't I? How long?
Most sheep are pretty nearly full grown by 6 months. They'll have their horns coming through pretty well by then. They've already got little horn buds about a quarter of an inch long, which they love having scratched. You want to get the right side of a lamb scratched between his horn buds. And under their chins as well. They enjoy having their chins tickled. But
in a month, how big do you suspect they might be?
They'll probably be twice this size in a month. They currently weigh about 12 pounds, which is, where are we? Something like 6 or 7 kilos. Whereas by the time they're fully adult, they'll be about 10 times that.
Yeah. So in a month's time, they might be sort of 15 kilos.
I would think so. By which time they're the same size as
the dogs.
That's the same size as the dogs.
Right. So at that stage, they can start to hold their own.
More than, because of course, one thing that lambs do that dogs don't is put their heads down and butt things.
Yeah.
And they already have quite hard heads.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Right? Even though their horns haven't grown yet. Shetlands have beautiful quarter horns that curl right around like that.
Whoa.
So by the time they're full grown, they'll be very capable of looking after themselves against a bumptious dog.
Yeah.
But they're coming along nicely.
They're gorgeous. I think they're really sweet. I wish I could get up there and see them, but I can't. So I just have to feed them.
They'll still be quite tame. It's one of the good things about orphan lambs, from my point of view, is that they do tame very easily.
Yeah.
It's not like trying to raise a wild animal that never really trusts you, and you know every time you're around them, they're stressed. These follow me around the house.
Yeah.
They go out. When I'm mucking out the barn, they're following me around. So I walk out with a wheelbarrow and I can hear little hooves behind me.
And yesterday, was it yesterday? No, Sunday, when we were Zooming with the students, you got them in your lap.
Yeah, they climb. They don't like to stay in my lap and they don't like to be held. Fair enough. But they will climb over me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is,
Tried it on the dogs as well. The dogs weren't terribly keen.
Hmm.
Those little hooves are very hard.
So the dogs are sort of getting the idea that actually there are quite a lot of things about lambs that are not necessarily a good idea for dogs.
Absolutely. We have been discussing it amongst the five of us,
I
obviously.
imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
Rocket has taken the approach of I'll just walk round them, and if they come and stand on me, I'll walk off and go and sleep on a bed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my bed, that is.
Yeah.
Whereas Wicket actually stays and just lies there and lets them stamp on her and tries to wash them. But I don't want her to try and play with them because her idea of play is quite rough and boisterous.
Yeah.
Obviously, rather too canine for a pair of lambs who are basically dinner.
And she's got, she's got a good set of teeth, and she's got pretty good pressure, jaw pressure, hasn't she?
Yes, not nearly as good as a wolf, but for a domestic dog, pretty good. And of course, the lambs are prey animals.
Yeah.
And a dog is basically a wolf. And they do know this, they're hardwired.
Yeah.
That thing that runs around and looks at me like that will eat me.
Yeah. Yeah. Which indeed Wicket would if she could.
She probably could. I did have to have words with her this morning when she jumped on a duck. Yeah. The ducks these are Muscovy ducks. It's not the ducklings. It's a full-grown Muscovy duck, and she flattened the poor thing.
Oh.
They got off with a grin, and the duck sort of waddled off squeaking.
Understandably. Yeah.
The duck is okay.
Wicket's
idea of play is a bit too boisterous.
Yeah. No. So we have yet more in the collection. I'm waiting to see, though, if we actually get shamanic lambs.
Well, they're bright little spots, I'll tell you that. You can see them looking at you and working things out. People have this idea that animals are stupid. Sheep are stupid.
Sheep. I mean, sheep are supposed to be stupid. People have decided they're stupid, and they're not.
They actually have the same symbolic intelligence as monkeys. Any sheep can recognize up to 50 different individual members of its flock. They can read your body language and understand your face.
And that's more than humans
can learn as many words as dogs can.
And that's more than humans can do. Because how many humans can actually really read body language?
In a sheep?
No, in each other.
In each other, not very many. In a sheep, hardly any.
No, not at all. Or in any animal, really. I mean, people still think, that dogs wag their tails and therefore they're happy.
Well, sometimes they wag their tails when they're happy.
And there's a hell of a lot more to it than that, which we are gradually learning all the nuances via the wolves, of course. But
if you're observant, you may already have noticed some of them.
Indeed, we have, yeah. And I mean, the other one is, cats lash their tails when they're angry. No, not always. And there's all sorts of nuances like delight and thrilledness and excitedness and all this sort of thing, just to be into the simple ones that they do.
Yeah.
And then there's all the little, like twitches, and you see that happening, and that's at the end of the tail. And that is a big signal, like, I'm not quite sure about this.
We used to have a cat who lived with us called Orlando, who was part Siamese. And she had this problem with her tail on occasion, which was that the end would start to twitch. And you could see her sitting there with her ears slightly back going, my tail is twitching, that itches. And after a bit, she'd turn around and she'd put a paw on it. And the tail would continue to twitch next to her paw.
Yeah.
And the other foot would go on it. And the next bit would stop. It was like having a tick, a facial tick. And she'd be trying to catch this itch that was moving around her tail and getting more and more furious until eventually she just had to run outside.
Because it all gets too much. I mean, I see that with she doesn't have the same problem. Hers, when you get this like that, it's usually like, I'm not quite sure whether I want any more of that, whatever it was. And if you don't, she will turn around and smack with a paw, and you're not listening to me, kind of thing. And the other one is, which you've probably seen, and it's easy to make a mistake of. When a male cat is spraying something, the whole tail goes like this. Well, so do female cats, and not necessarily spraying. It's about excitement, interest, all sorts of things like that as well.
Oh, yes.
Although some female cats can want to spray, but it's not the same as, it's nothing like the same as
It's not the same, but there's the same sort of emotions there.
It seems to be.
Yes.
But it's very interesting because Izzy, my previous familiar, she was a real tail shiverer. And it was fascinating to watch when she did it. And
Yes.
so, oh, that was about this. And sometimes it was about like, I really want to jump in your lap. And
Yes.
another time it was like, I really want to play. Or another time it was, there's a mouse over there, I'm going to get it. And it's just like, whoa, you know, the nuances of expression and feeling and what they're saying. So
it's one of the things that we really should educate the entire human race on is that every animal has exactly the same range and depth and complexity of emotional life and social life that we do.
Yes, it does.
But it's suited us not to know for quite a long time.
And
the way we keep domesticated animals has carefully made sure that we don't see these things.
Yeah, yeah. And you're told that you have to be in charge and the dog is supposed to do what you say, or the cat is supposed to do what you say. I mean, really? Exactly.
Dogs, possibly. That's the point. And teaching them not to run around the road in front of cars is obviously good for them. And things like that. Don't mind choose where they sleep. They choose when they have their meals. They'll come and tell me in no uncertain terms when it's time to go outside.
Absolutely. I mean, Kellen doesn't have that problem because she's got a cat flap. But she does. She chooses when she wants to eat. I now have learned to know what she wants to eat too, because she has a choice of things to eat. And so I now know what it is that she wants and when she wants to play. And she is totally gorgeous. She know, I mean, she's part Siamese too, so she talks. But she knows that we're monkeys, so we talk. So she does. She's got a little set of meows, which the humans have just about learned to understand. And she loves to meet Paul when he comes out, when he gets up in the morning. And so she jumps on the back of one of the chairs, her favorite chair, and she sits there all sort of precise, and she goes, and it's like, morning, hello, I'm here, I want to say hello to you. And she does. And she's so upset. You know, sometimes he sort of has to run to the bathroom immediately.
Yeah.
And as one does. And she is like,
And of course, it's now coming out that cats never meow except at people.
Exactly.
Humans.
Yeah. Well, they do, but it's quite different.
The actual stand in the doorway, look at a human and meow
is like
never done it as humans.
Yeah, we know that these are monkeys. We know that they are going to talk, and that is the way to catch the attention.
Yes.
And once you've caught the attention, of course, then you can shut up and
do
all the proper, you know, mind to mind, spirit talk, which
I get something very similar off the horses.
Yeah.
They do a very pointed, I want that bucket filled with water by you. That bucket by you. Excuse me, that bucket by, that bucket. And eventually I get the message. And you can see them thinking, oh, thank goodness, finally.
Oh, God, too short thanks being Mensa beside this one, you know. No, I know, I get the same sort of thing. I think you do from all, I mean, I remember it from when we had German Shepherds. And I had it with all my cats. I remember it from when I had horses. And you actually get it when you're out in the wild. I mean, I have been told in no uncertain terms by, you know, something the size of a robin and once a wren, that I needed to be down there. Now, you know, it's like, you know, and it's right at you.
They are trying to talk to us. We're just very, very stupid in picking it up.
Yeah.
Of course, you know the story last year when I had ducklings in the yard and one got stuck on its back.
Oh, well, again because it's gorgeous.
It is. I have, at the time I had 2 adult geese who had 2 goslings. And I also had various ducks who were running around with various amounts of ducklings in tow. Now, ducklings are not terribly well coordinated. It has to be said. They're great on water, but you get them running around the yard and they do tend to fall over. And this one had fallen over and got stuck on his back, feet in the air, paddling like this. And I was in the feed room at the time getting horse feeds ready. And I suddenly heard an outbreak of honking from the geese. Now, geese are fantastic yards, so I always go and check if they go off, because you never know, it could be a bird of prey or a fox or a stray dog or a trespasser. Mm-hmm. So I always would go out and check. And I looked out of the feed room door and there was a circle of ducks and both geese standing there. Muscovy ducks don't talk much. They don't quack. Mm. They make a little trilling noise, which is very sweet, but not very carrying. But there they all were gathered round, both males and females. And both the geese were there and they were honking and then looking at me and honking and then looking at the thing on the ground and honking. So clearly I was required to be there. So I went there. And there in the middle of this ring of birds was this poor little thing on its back with its legs going like this. And they all sort of fell silent and took a step back. And they were like, is she going to do it? Will she? Did she? And I put a hand down. I put a hand down and just went, flip. And there was a duck back on his feet. And they all went, phew. And they just totally silently walked away in all different directions.
It is stunning. I mean, do you remember a few years back now, we were down on Exmoor with the Rainbow Warriors. It was Lizzie's last thing. And they'd had the bloody hunt out the year before, which we'd managed to, we'd actually managed to disrupt quite well and save the fox. But anyway, there'd been fox hunting. But of course, the hounds and the horses and the galloping and the excitement and the noise, it scares the deer as well. And Liz went out for her walk the next morning. And we'd been doing, working on healing and listening to things and that the night before. And she heard this female deer calling her. And she actually called out loud as well. And so Liz like, what is it? And the deer was going something like, help, help, help my baby, help, help. And so Liz, she laughed about it after. She said, so I sent, I did the healing pyramid and that, and I sent energy. And the deer sort of barked and bleated much more strongly, like, no, not like that, you silly idiot. And so Liz got it and she went over there and it was quite horrid. They I don't know why farmers do it, but they put bloody barbed wire in the hedges, and there are big banks in Exmoor that are earth and stone and then hedge on top, and then they put barbed wire on the edge of it and put barbed wire on the other side of this one. And the adult deer had jumped, and the young deer, a few months old, had tried to jump and missed and was hanging there by its back legs on the barbed wire. Nobody came to look, of course, from the hunt. Nobody gave a shit. That's hunt people for you. Anyway, so Liz, fortunately, Liz had gone the right way, and Otherworld had picked the right woman because she keeps cattle and sheep herself, and she's a good farmer and she knows how to do this, and she's quite strong. So, which is, I mean, I couldn't have done it. I am not physically capable. And Fiona's quite short, even if strong, but Liz is tall and strong. And so anyway, she got herself through to the other side and was, part of her heart was like going, oh my God, can I do this? Am I going to make it worse? And the deer was like saying, and she could hear her inside now saying, no, go on, help me. You can help me. You can help me. You can help my baby. And so she got in and she managed to get the young deer's legs off the wire and get it down. And yes, it got blooded and scratched by the wire, but it could run and it wasn't limping, which was like, thank the gods, and it ran off. And Mother dear, she said she just sent me this a great ball of love and thanks back. Liz just sort of found herself collapsed and sat down in the hedge.
Yes.
And she was crying.
Yes.
As one would.
Absolutely.
And they do talk to you, but you've got to learn to listen and realize that it's your language skills, not theirs, that are up the creek. And say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you show me? And this is what the deer did apparently to Liz. Actually showed her, you know, the sort of a vague feel of image of what the baby deer was, what the trouble was. Mm. And the same thing happens for both of us with our animals. You get a sort of picture very quickly, and you have to do something about it. But we've got to learn to talk. We've got to get out of this idiot shit of, like, you know, animals are dumb.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a dumb animal. There are billions of dumb humans on the planet, but there's no such thing as a dumb animal. Somebody did you see the meme that was going around? Yeah, I pushed it on further. It was about litter, and there was a sign on this forest gate which sort of said, "Animals don't leave litter. Humans do. Please behave like an animal."
Yes, absolutely. There was another quite good one I saw the other day, which was a pair of pigeons sitting on top of a tree stump. A bloke walks past and he's muttering, "I hate pigeons, they're so messy." The pigeons are looking down at all the litter at the bottom of the tree stump going, "Does he think we did this?"
Well, I know.
Photos this year, whenever they have some sort of bank holiday anywhere and the crowds go and just make an absolute stinking trash heap.
Yeah. They're doing it down here too. I mean, last time I went up on the Mynd, and I mean, I haven't been up there since you know, people have been seriously let out, like yesterday.
Yes.
One of the main, and it's a beautiful walk, and it's miles long if you want it. It's called the Portway, and it's right on the top of the hills, so it's great. And what that's like, I mean, it was bad last time. And you sort of feel like you ought to have your rucksack empty on your shoulders and going along.
Well, you know, I'm taking Abe out for walks every day at the moment, or every other day at the moment. So I don't want to wear his hooves off. And we're just going up to the forestry plantations, which have a couple of dog walks in them.
Yeah.
And we're just walking, just him walking next to me, and I walk along. He needs to get more muscle on. I need to lose some weight. So it works for both of us. But I was thinking just yesterday when I took him out that really I should put his saddlebags on. So we have a set of saddlebags he can wear. They don't wear it. They're not nearly heavy enough to impede him. Not like plunking me on top. But I could pick up litter and bring it back and throw it away because it's filthy.
Yeah. And I don't know whether people think that whoever they might be, are going to come up and clear it up after them. I mean, because in towns, you know, you do have dustmen who sweep the streets and dustmen who collect your bin and that kind of thing.
Nobody, I really hated to break it to people, but nobody, absolutely nobody, goes 20 foot up a tree to retrieve a plastic bag full of dog dirt. They really don't. Nobody does.
And I mean, well, okay, I'm going to tell this one. When we were down in Hereford, and I went for a walk in one of our lovely woods down there, and it's really beautiful. And there are lots of nice trails that even cripples like me with a stick don't fall over in. And I parked the car. There's a nice car park and everything like that. I went for my walk. I came back, and this bloke in a car next to me was just hanging a bag of dog poo on a tree. So I took it down, and he hadn't actually tied it, and I just flung it at his car windscreen.
Yes.
And then he looked at me, and he was about to shout at this woman, and those of you who've seen me when I'm fierce, you think she may be small and she may be a cripple, but don't. And I was like, look, you know, and I'm sure he thought I was going to bash him with my stick, which if he'd come at me, I would have done. But no, he drove off, and his windscreen wipers were going some.
Yes. Yes, but I hope it stuck.
It relieved my frustration for the moment. Yeah. And I think if more people...
If his window had been open, you'd have been tempted to throw it inside.
Yes, but I was actually facing the windscreen, not the side. So, you know, it was like, do this now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Really? And another time when Paul and I were actually on our 40th wedding anniversary, that's right. And I took him to a lovely place on Dartmoor, and we went hawking, but there's another day. And we went for a gorgeous walk along a lovely valley. Problems, yes, okay. And at the end of the walk, there was a nice hotel and cafe where they did cream teas.
Yes.
So Paul, you know, he really liked cream tea, and so we sat and we had a nice cream tea. At least we were going to. Now, believe this. This was a terrace of nice tables and chairs along the riverbank, in this gorgeous valley in Dartmoor. Under the table were 3 bags of dog food. I mean, how could anybody do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I showed the girl who came to wait on us, and I mean, she just coloured up and went mildly bizarre, and you know, brought a dustpan and brush and cleared it away. So I'm so sorry, you know. And I said, well, so am I, and I'm so sorry for you, because you know, it wasn't us, and I know you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Some people just went off to get our tea.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fan of little plastic bags in the countryside at any time.
No.
Just flick it in the undergrowth of the rot. Something will eat it. Everything goes around, provided it's not made of plastic.
If you kick your dog poo into the undergrowth and you walk 2-3 miles up there and you come back the same way and you look, it'll be gone. Because there are a number of bugs and insects and even little animals and things that, oh, yum. I mean, I know it's not yum to us, but then we're not there.
That's their thing.
Yeah.
We all have our own place where we should be and things we should be doing. And they're busy trying to do theirs and we're busy getting in the way.
I mean, I can see the point in a town because there are very few of those sort of bugs, and the place is all concrete and tarmac and they can't get in. So please don't leave it on the street. I mean, we used to when we were still in London and I was going to work on the tube, and the dog walkers would go down our street, and Paul and I got to a state of this, and it was tiptoes through the dog turds, da da da.
Right, I've got some meaningful trotting to the door going on here, so I'm going to go and let Rocket out. So I'll leave you with a little test card of lambs to look at again, just for a moment.
Well, the test card of lambs is perfect. Oh, look at me. One's me lying down. I don't know which one.
When I go out of sight.
Aren't they gorgeous? I mean, look at those lovely markings. And yeah, and they'll be fine. Also, every year, the owner's going to get a really good fleece off those. And Shetland wool is gorgeous. It really is utterly gorgeous. And then you don't need to shear, because with the old breeds, you do what they call ruing, which is you just pluck the spare hair out. A bit like when you do it in gardening. I mean, there are some tall grasses that you don't cut the dead, you pull them out like this, and the same as you pull the old fleece off the sheep. They call it ruing.
Yes.
So I was saying about you going to get some fleeces off there, because they're so prettily marked, those sheep.
Yes. Yes. The Shetlands have fantastic fleeces anyway. And these two are both weather lambs. They're castrated males. So they won't be smelly, and they will actually have much finer fleeces than even ewes. So they will be beautifully warm and cozy through the winter. And then when it gets hot and they don't need it, they'll shed it. And it'll collect it. I've rued Shetlands before, and it's completely pain-free and stressless.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, they regard it as great. Somebody's finally having a good scratch at that itch I've got.
And they do. I mean, they'll stand there, kind of thing, you know, as you're pulling the bit that is really annoying them.
And you don't even need to pull like that. What you do is put your hand on it and just like that with your fingers, and it just comes off in great chunks.
And then you put it in the bag, clean it and spin it.
And it's a great thing to do. So we will do that, won't we, little ones?
In fact, you're almost tempting me to say, you know, next year sometime, send me a bag of fleece and I'll knit it up to something.
Oh yeah, I can bring you a bag of fleece. I can even just bring you a bag of yarn, because I'm perfectly capable of spinning it.
I know, but you don't actually have quite as much time as I do. I do have some sitting down time when I need to be sitting down thinking or doing something or listening to something, and that's when I spin. And
Shetland fleece is a joy to spin anyway. It's a real pleasure with the fingers. But yes, certainly I'll bring you a fleece.
If we have it unwashed, so it's still got the oil on it, then it's waterproof.
Yes.
Well, not.
And it's also much easier to spin when it's still in the grease.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Well, as long as the grease hasn't hardened, but that usually happens after 6 or 8 months. But a fresh fleece straight off the well, these will be, a yearling fleece. Yeah. Is absolutely gorgeous.
And I mean, Jonah's mother was a champion spinner.
She was.
I've got stuff that she gave me, and it's just like to die for.
Yes.
And you're not wearing it today, but that's all right.
No.
She's got a super jumper that her mum did for. But Joan used to, she'd do competitions and that, and they have a competition. You spin literally directly from the sheep.
The back-to-back competition.
Yeah.
It's a competition that's run every year with various spinning and knitting teams around the world. And the idea is that you start the clock as you begin the first clip of wool off the sheep. And it's very, very competitive. You literally have somebody standing by, hands at the ready, and the first handful they take and they run inside to where the spinners are, and the first spinner starts spinning immediately. Yeah. So within about 30 seconds of the first snip of the shears, somebody's already spinning the wool. And as soon as there's a couple of yards of yarn, which might take 30 seconds, ripped off and handed to the first knitter, who starts casting on. Usually the Shetland Islanders win that competition. There's a strict pattern for the jersey that you have to knit. So everyone is knitting exactly the same jersey to exactly the same number of stitches. And you can go from the wool still on the sheep to the jersey on somebody, completed, stitched up and all, within 3 hours.
I imagine everybody's a bit knackered at the end of it.
Absolutely exhausted.
And very keen on large cups of tea and large lumps of nice cake, which they...
Only the sheep, I might say.
No, not the sheep. No, you don't feed cake to sheep.
No, given the chance, sheep do eat cake, but they shouldn't.
Yeah, they would. I mean, because it's sweet and nice and everything like that. Yes, they will eat grainy stuff because it's grassy stuff. But
these two went stealing duck food this morning, and that's a mix of layers, pellets, and oats. It won't do them any harm. But yes, you can, and it doesn't hurt the sheep, regardless of what animal extremists claim. When you shear a sheep, you're actually doing it a favour. If you do it properly and you're not taking lumps off the sheep with the shears.
I mean, there's sort of Australian shearing competitions are not necessarily all that much fun.
No, they're the motorised shears. Once they've caught a fold of skin, will take the skin off as well. And you see commercial flocks with
great wounds,
patches of antibiotic spray, and that's not the same thing at all.
Not proper shearing. I mean,
no, hand shearing with a pair of springy metal clippers.
When you've learned how to do it.
When you've learned how to do it, which only takes about 3 or 4 sheep, to be honest, having done it.
Yeah.
And with a sheep who actually knows what's coming and isn't afraid of it.
Yeah.
Which, if you keep your sheep properly, they're not.
They won't be. No.
You know, you sit the sheep up between your legs. It's back comfortably against your legs, and its head's tucked under, if it's a big sheep, under your armpit. And then you start straight down the middle, down the brisket, and all that old wool coming off needs to come off. If you don't take it off with commercial breeds, they can't shed. You know, and if you've ever seen a dog overheating, well, sheep overheat and die too. So they need to have that fleece clipped off every year.
We were seeing a bit of problem like that with fly strike.
Yes.
When we walked up Caradoc a couple of weeks, and the sheep who had not been sheared, and it was very warm at the time, wasn't it, when we went? And they really were. And of course, there's all the muck that's coagulated in their fleece.
Grease,
summer.
Grease solidifies as well.
Yeah.
Now I did see something last week, I think it was, where they'd found a sheep that had been managed to get lost in the Australian bush for about 3 years. And this poor sheep had 53 pounds of wool, knotted and matted. He couldn't see out. His nose was barely coming out through the wool, so he could hardly eat. His fleece hung right down to his legs. He could hardly walk.
I'm surprised he was still alive, because usually
it wouldn't have been much longer. There wasn't a lot of sheep under there when they took the wool off.
And usually you get the flies coming in, and they lay their eggs in the sheep's skin. This is what fly strike is.
Yes.
And then all those little baby fly larvae,
those maggots hatch out within 2 or 3 days,
and they eat the sheep from within.
They do. I've dealt with a sheep with fly strike. It is possible to deal with it. If
you're quick, you get it.
If you catch it quickly, then you scrub the sheep. You clip all the wool off, and you scrub them with Jay's fluid.
Yeah.
You keep scrubbing them every day with Jay's fluid for about 3 days. And it's quite uncomfortable and painful for them, but it does kill the fly larvae.
But mostly, this is with modern farming and with modern sheep breeds, as opposed to the Shelties who you can roo and they shed.
Yes.
Farmers don't bother. Well, we can afford to lose one.
This is one of the problems. You know, we stop when you only have a few sheep and they're valuable to you, whether it's because you only have a few sheep and you need them, or because you value their company and their characters,
or both.
Then it matters, and you take the time and the trouble. When you've got 6,000 sheep, you can't get to know them, and you can't spend the time with them.
You get really hard-hearted, and they become just money.
Yes, they're just objects. They're not characters.
That is your problem with modern farming, is that they are objects for sale, objects to produce money.
Yes.
They're not.
And the other thing, of course, is when you've got that many, you have to deal with them by chasing them around and terrifying them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Whereas when you've only got half a dozen, which is what I'm going to end up with, you train them to come to a bucket and call on their names.
Yeah.
And they will know me from the the day they come here. They'll know that nothing bad ever happens to them at my hands.
Yeah. You remember Margaret from down in Hereford, and she had about 25 or 30, and they were Shetlands as well.
Yes.
But she got them all bucket trained, and they just, she kind of, and she got her call for them, which I can't remember what it was, but she'd stand at the gate or in the field and call, and they'd come out from wherever it was they were and come over to her. Hello, what have we got, sort of thing. And you wrap a bucket, of course, and it's wallop,
Some years ago, we were approached here. I've spent most of my life working on and off for the Red Breed Survival Trust. Hang on a minute, look at this. This is the treat. And one of the local tourist attractions, which has since folded, wanted to have Iron Age sheep and Iron Age pigs. And we want Soay sheep. Have you ever kept sheep? No. Right,
I can see this coming. Okay, go on.
You're going to need 6-foot fences. And they were like, but they're sheep. These are Soay sheep. Soay sheep are wild sheep. You can't herd them. When you try and take a dog near them, every sheep goes his own way or her own way. And they won't herd in that sense. But my golly, they do bucket train because sheep are clever. So eventually we got them to bucket train their sheep. And then they never had another problem with them escaping and running off across the hills at all.
No, because they know where they want to be. They know everything's okay. And food comes and people are nice to them here. I mean, they're glorious. I mean, their horns are stunning.
Beautiful sheep.
And,
their fleece is about that long and almost impossible to spin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They do shed every year. They don't. You go out and you comb your sheep every day, basically, if you want the fleece off them.
Yeah.
Just.
But, I mean, even so, I mean, the staple is so short. It's like trying to spin a cat.
It is possible, and they do beautiful yarn when you do it. But you do have to be a very good spinner.
Yeah. You need long threads to spin easily.
If you mix Sowe with a long wool sheep or a longer wool sheep, then you can get a very nice yarn out of that. There's your sister. See? Here, Wicked, you can hear. Right, how many ducks did you squash this time?
We might suddenly get photobombed in a minute as well.
You might well, because I'm going to go and shut the door before they help themselves to outside again.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah. That was Wicked's head you saw briefly there in the dark. She's a black and white dog, so you will see the white. There, we got a nose then. We got a nose.
Well, we do have both dogs standing here hoping for the biscuit. There we go. That's Wicket, the black and white one, and Rocket, allegedly she's a blue brindle.
No, she's pink.
But yeah, exactly. Her pedigree certificate says, her pedigree certificate says blue brindle. We might as well argue, but she's pink.
Either we're both colourblind, or they are, or whoever it is.
Oh, everyone who meets us
is bloody lunatic anyway. Yeah. Mind you, I suppose most people will sort of say you can't have a pink dog. And there was one. Yeah. Yes, she has got darker grey blue bits in her, but
it's actually a fascinating coat when you look closely at a brindle dog.
Yeah, she's very pretty.
Yes. There we go.
Well, we've had quite a sort of wallop of animal.
We have, yes.
Which is a good thing, really.
Well, we're woefully out of practice at listening to the rest of our animal clan cousins.
I mean, in Deer Trods, the animals decided to join in, and so part of the listening skills and some of the mistakes and things like that, other skills courses that you get in Deer Trods, involve the animals, because the animals sort of said, excuse me, we can do that much better than you can.
Yes.
You don't actually, of course, get to meet the real live animal, not the sort of breathing flesh and blood job.
Not at the moment.
Partly because some of you will probably live on the other side of the world, and most of the real life ones live in Aberdeen, but one of them lives down here with me. But it's still Shropshire, so whatever. And but you do get to meet them because they turn up when you call them and you ask them. You say, "Can you come and help me with this exercise?" And I don't know. There is one. We're not going to tell you what they are. But there's, I think it's about 6 or 7 of them get involved in the end. Trying to think.
Yes.
Something like that. Not all in the same exercise. There's usually no more than 4 in one exercise, and you work with each one separately in a separate exercise, because otherwise it is just too mind-blowing. Seriously.
As you know, the animal shamanism course that I run is actually taught by the animals, and they gave it. They basically turned to me one day. This was Poppy, my herd mare. Basically turned around and said, we've been waiting for you to write this out so humans could read it. So I've written the course with an awful lot of looking over my shoulder and comments from the people who are actually doing the work, which is all the animals, or the other animals. And I don't regard myself as anything but a facilitator on that course.
Amanuensis, they call it, dear.
Yes.
A very long word. I take down the notes and I write it
down the notes. Yes.
Yeah. No, and you are the facilitator, because I mean you're the mediator when the poor student gets themselves in a Tiswas, because it happens to everybody. Don't worry about it. Getting in a Tiswas is a good idea. But you've got Fiona between you and the animal. You can sort of say, I'm not getting this, Fiona, what's happening?
I'm a translator.
You say, oh, have you tried this?
Yes.
We don't very often give answers, do we? Usually say, well, have you tried this? And give you a different way.
The problem with giving people answers is that you can only give them your answers. And that is why we don't, because our answers may not be your answers.
Exactly. And we may have got it quite wrong.
Yes.
We are quite capable of getting it quite wrong.
Oh, I'm expert at getting things on the back of my neck.
We try not to do it too often. And we don't do it too often.
We don't actually try to do it, but you know, when it happens,
we don't actually succeed in doing it too often, even if by accident.
At some point, something will be looking at us and going, you know, you're doing that wrong, don't you?
Yes. One of our animals or otherworldly facilitators or otherworldly teachers, because they all come in. Yes. Like you say with animal shamanism, and I say with the apprenticeship and the Rainbow Warriors, I'm just CEO to Otherworld. I'm the chief executive officer. I get it sorted, and I'm the mediator when you haven't got a clue what's going on. And that's how we teach. And it actually works, because of course at the other end, the student, I mean, and they're so good.
Yes.
It's like, you know, they've got like, okay, that was okay. I didn't actually, you know, the sun will rise tomorrow morning despite what I just did.
Yes, thank goodness.
Well, it has every time so far.
Yes.
I'm not saying that we couldn't get. I've just been reading Dennis Wheatley, so I'm just wondering if no, we don't want any students who are like that.
No, I think we wouldn't, because they get weeded out before we actually take them on.
Yeah, they do. Otherworld, and the way we do our application form for any of the courses, you know, like that we teach, like the apprenticeship or animal shamanism or Rainbow Warriors, we've got a process that you go through, which, I mean, I put it, it's really like a conversation between us, and you get to find out whether what you thought we had is actually what we do have, and whether you actually want it. And we're absolutely okay if it's not for you.
No, I mean, everyone has to find their own way, which currently involves getting foot massage from a whippet.
Yeah. No. As well as being keyboard. That is wicked.
This is wicked. Yes.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
The wicked one, aren't you?
The wicked.
Yes. No, don't.
Wicked whippet.
There really isn't room for you to be a lapdog.
I want to be passengers. I am a lapdog. Really, I am a lapdog.
Body experience.
No, do you remember when we first got it? The wicked whippet. We were both of us spitting our teeth all over everything. Trying to get it out.
Yes.
But she is. And she's
17 kilos. Hey?
How many kilos?
17 she weighs.
So how's the weight doing on the wicked? Because the wicked,
she's good. She's lost the extra weight she had when she last saw the vet.
Yeah.
She was dieted, which she disapproved of, and exercised more, which she liked. So she's now fine. Little Rocket is only 15 kilos.
She's smaller.
She's okay. Yes, she's a much lighter.
You know, she's smaller all over.
Yes. Yes. How to reduce your whippet to absolute ecstasy? Scratch her chest. My fingers are just down here.
Yeah, I can see it. The head is hanging down. And ecstasy. I think.
That's happy. I don't know how long I can continue to hold the laptop in fingers with one hand while scratching down with the other.
No, it's possible. Actually, it's possible. Wicked is sort of saying, you have all yattered on for quite long enough. Shut up.
It's quite possible. We have been here for an hour, so yes.
We have indeed. So we will say, animal paradise to you all. Get chatting with your animal friends, wild and otherwise, and we'll see you next time. So Bye for now.